is that Alex Preddy approached Border Patrol agents with a 9mm semi-automatic handgun. I want to go back to one of the videos, and I know you can see it there, and I want to ask you about what you're seeing, because multiple angles of this incident show him holding up a cell phone and recording it, not a gun. Did he at any point pull out his weapon?
Dana, good morning, and thanks for having me. The weapon, and we do know that the suspect did bring a weapon, a loaded 9mm high-capacity handgun, to a riot. We do know that. As far as what happened in that intervening moment with the video that you just showed, that's going to come to light through the investigation. That's being investigated, and those facts and those questions will be answered soon enough.
Let's go back here.
Suspect did.
Here with me now is U.S. Border Patrol Commander-at-Large Greg Bobino. Thank you for being here. Sir, you are still in Minneapolis, and I want to get to a lot of questions that we have that are unanswered. First and foremost is that Alex Preddy approached Border Patrol agents with a 9mm semi-automatic handgun. I want to go back to one of the videos, and I know you can see it there, and I want to ask you about what you're seeing, because multiple angles of this incident show him holding up a cell phone and recording it, not a gun. Did he at any point pull out his weapon?
Dana, good morning, and thanks for having me. The weapon, and we do know that the suspect did bring a weapon, a loaded 9mm high-capacity handgun, to a riot. We do know that. As far as what happened in that intervening moment with the video that you just showed, that's going to come to light through the investigation. That's being investigated, and those facts and those questions will be answered soon enough.
Okay, but the Homeland Security Secretary is not waiting for that investigation to take place before saying that Alex Preddy was, quote, brandishing a weapon. Let's go to video 7, because, of course, you know this far better than I. The definition of brandishing is waving or flourishing something, especially a weapon, as a threat or in anger and excitement. That's just a still photo of what Alex Preddy appears to be holding. There is nothing that we have seen that showed him, as Secretary Noem said, brandishing a weapon. Have you, sir, seen something different to support what the Secretary said?
So nice to hear actually push back during an interview. No, none of them do. All these softball interviews, they never ask no questions. Erica Kirk, all they say is don't.
Dan, I think what we need to take a look at here is the situation in its totality. What happened leading up to this situation? The suspect decided to inject himself into a law enforcement action. What's not being said here is the fact that Border Patrol agents and law enforcement were conducting a targeted law enforcement effort against a violent, illegal alien that was nearby, and that suspect injected himself into that law enforcement situation with a weapon. And what happened between when that situation first came about and the shooting, that's going to be investigated, and we're going to get to the facts of that.
Well, you said yesterday that this looks like a situation where the individual wanted to do maximum damage and massacre law enforcement. What evidence do you have that he wanted to massacre law enforcement? Because all the videos that we have, and I do want to, we just have a still shot up now, but I do, control room, want to play one of the other videos. Let's play video number 1 again. It doesn't look anything like he's trying to massacre law enforcement. In fact, he was filming, and then it looked like he was trying to help another individual there who was pushed down by law enforcement.
I have a theory that it might be all staged. I don't know. I think Trump, if they can kill Epstein in jail, you don't think they could hire a couple ICE guys to go stir this shit up? I think it's all made to cover up the Epstein files. It's almost got to be. and Charlie Kirk and the Butler shooting. It's all staged. It's all fucking staged. They're planning some crazy end of the world shit, I think.
And then they went after him.
In fact, I believe that the fantastic training that our law enforcement partners have, the fact that they're highly trained, prevented any specific shootings of law enforcement. So good job for our law enforcement in taking him down before he was able to do that. And again, Dana, let's look at why he was there in the first place. Was he simply walking by and just happened to walk into a law enforcement situation and try to direct traffic and stand in the middle of the road and then assault, delay, and obstruct law enforcement? Or was he there for a reason? Did he fall victim to that violent and heated rhetoric by a Mayor Fry and Governor Waltz? Look, Dana, they're trying to portray Border Patrol agents and ICE agents as Gestapo, Nazi, and many other words. Did this individual fall victim, as many others have, to that type of heated rhetoric?
I want to stay focused on this incident right now, because what you were saying is that he went there to try to stop this law enforcement operation. All of the video that we have seen shows him documenting it with his cell phone, which is a lawful thing to do. And the only time he seemed to interact with law enforcement is when they went after him when he was trying to help an individual who law enforcement pushed down. So where do you have the evidence to show that he was trying to impede that?
An individual arrived at this scene to inflict maximum damage on individuals and to kill law enforcement.
Here with me now is U.S. Border Patrol Commander-at-Large Greg Bobino. Thank you for being here. Sir, you are still in Minneapolis, and I want to help.
Let's watch Krusty Gnome.
He also had no ID. This looks like a situation where an individual arrived at this scene to inflict maximum damage on individuals and to kill law enforcement. About hundreds of protesters then showed up at the scene. They began to obstruct and to assault law enforcement officers. We saw objects being thrown at them, including ice and other objects, and a rampant assault began, and even an HSI officer agent's finger was bitten off. Crowd control measures were deployed to bring safety to the public and to law enforcement at the scene. And once again, I want to remind everybody that this situation and this tragedy did not have to happen.
Yeah, no, it doesn't.
He also had no ID. This looks like a situation where an individual arrived at this scene to inflict maximum damage on individuals and to kill law enforcement. About hundreds of protesters then showed up
maximum damage.
They began to obstruct and to assault law enforcement officers. We saw objects being thrown at them, including ice and other objects, and a rampant assault began, and even an HSI officer agent's finger was bitten off. Crowd control measures were deployed to bring safety to the public and to law enforcement at the scene. And once again, I want to remind everybody that this situation and this tragedy did not have to happen.
Evil cocksuckers.
An individual who law enforcement pushed down. So where do you have the evidence to show that he was trying to impede that that law enforcement operation?
Sure, Dana, first he was there in the scene. He was in the scene actively impeding and assaulting law enforcement to the point.
But that's not illegal. He wasn't Dana, impeding it. He was filming it, which is a legal thing to do in the United States of America.
Dana, let's don't freeze frame adjudicate this now. He was there for a reason, and that reason was to impede law enforcement to the point.
What evidence do you have of that?
And here's a good point, Dana, is the fact that de-escalation techniques were utilized during this action. Those de-escalation techniques, whether it was physically trying to remove them from that law enforcement scene, that active law enforcement scene in which law enforcement were going after a violent illegal alien, or the use of pepper spray, which is another de-escalation technique. Those techniques did not work. Officers always try to use the minimum amount of force necessary to either effect an arrest, which in this case was more than likely 18 U.S.C. 111, assault on a federal officer or impede, delay, and obstruct.
Where did he assault a federal officer in any of the video that you have seen?
Thank God,
because it looked to us from every angle, sir, that he was approached by them when he was helping another individual who was pushed down. What evidence do you have that he was assaulting any law enforcement?
Dana, we don't need a suspect's help in an active law enforcement scene.
When you say
we don't
suspect,
need his help.
what is
we
he
didn't ask
suspected
his help.
of?
That's an active law enforcement scene. He knew that was an active law enforcement scene, especially when the officers approached him, and it's very evident he did not need to be where he was.
So
and he
when
decided
somebody
on his own to stay there.
So when somebody is pushed down and a person's instinct is to help that person,
that's a death sentence.
When somebody's pushed down by law enforcement, you're saying that you just stand back and let law enforcement do what they're doing? I mean, is that really human nature?
You know, Dana, every situation is different. What our officers are faced with here in Minneapolis are chaotic, very difficult and violent situations in which individuals, and this suspect is not the only one to bring a loaded weapon to a riot. The situations are chaotic and ever-changing. Follow directions for law enforcement. Don't inject yourself knowingly beforehand into a law enforcement situation.
With respect, it feels as though in some ways you're blaming the victim here.
Yeah, he is.
The victims are the Border Patrol agents. I'm not blaming the Border Patrol agents. The victim are the Border Patrol agents.
He's going to get killed.
The suspect put himself in that situation. The victims are the Border Patrol agents.
I would never do nothing. Don't get me wrong.
I want to go back to the gun, sir, because
I
think this is really, really critical.
I know I'm not the only person
who can see an agent, and I just want to go to, let's see here, video 5. You can see a screenshot of an agent in a green jacket approach Preddy, and then he appeared to take a gun away. When the agent took the gun away, which seems as though it was Preddy's gun, that happened before Preddy was shot. Why was an unarmed man shot multiple times by law enforcement, by your Border Patrol agents?
Dana, you don't know he was unarmed. I don't know he was unarmed.
Yeah, we've
That's
seen the video.
freeze-frame adjudication of a crime scene via a photo. That's why we have investigators. That's why we have an investigation that is going to answer those questions. How many shots were fired? Who fired shots? Where was the guns? Where were the guns located? All those questions are going to be answered.
I think you can see the screen.
In the investigation. We're not going to adjudicate that here on TV in one freeze frame there.
Okay, it's not a freeze frame. We're showing a video of one of your agents taking the gun away, and that happened before Preddy was shot.
We don't know that agent was taking any gun away. That could have been the agents, because we don't know that.
We know
the facts are going to come to light.
So you're disputing the video that that's what happened?
With an that's why we investigate.
Well, with respect, you say that's why we investigate, but you're also drawing other conclusions that sort of fly in the face of waiting for an investigation. I just want to also go back to what I was asking about with regard to what Secretary Noem said, that he was brandishing a gun. At any point, do you have any evidence that, yes, he had a gun on his person? Was he brandishing it? Was he a threat because he had a gun in his hand that put law enforcement in danger?
No, idiot. Don't lie, you fucking cocksucker.
That's the sound of an American oil company hard at work. Want to be a part of it? Listen up.
Hello, my name is Adam Ferrari, and I'm the CEO.
Dana, we heard the law enforcement officer say gun, gun, gun. So at some point, they knew there was a gun. So again, that is going to be part of that investigation.
You're investigating right now, you idiot. I fucking hate this dude so much.
What was happening on the ground there between those victims, the Border Patrol agent victims, and the suspect?
Both the police chief in Minneapolis, O'Hara, and Governor Walz say Preddy was legally licensed to carry a concealed weapon. So are you saying it's not okay for him to exercise his Second Amendment right, not to mention his First Amendment right to be there in the first place, but his Second Amendment right to carry a gun? And if you do,
why do you need a permit for your right?
You can be shot by federal law enforcement?
No, I didn't say that, Dana. I never said that. What I'm saying is we respect that Second Amendment right, but those rights don't count when you riot and assault, delay, obstruct, and impede law enforcement officers, and most especially when you mean to do that beforehand.
How do you know that?
You mean to do that when you mean to do that beforehand. When you show up to an active crime scene, don't leave the crime scene, and you're armed. Then you've got the decision-making process for that individual doesn't seem to be very good. Now, back to the Second Amendment. What you're saying about the Second Amendment is peacefully protesting with firearms. Absolutely, I've done that myself, and fully support that. But not when you perpetrate violence, obstruct, delay, or obfuscate Border Patrol in the performance of their duties in an
There's
active
no
crime
evidence that
scene.
he was perpetrating violence. And there's no evidence, unless you have it, and we'd love to see it if there is, that he was intending to massacre law enforcement, other than the fact that he was there and he had a gun lawfully.
He meant to be there beforehand. Again, Dana, he came there beforehand.
How do you
for
know that?
a reason.
How do you know that?
Because he was there.
But all he
Because
was doing
there.
was filming
It's
and
very
documenting
evident.
it, which is legal. He was carrying a gun, which in Minneapolis
I didn't
is
say
legal.
it wasn't. And I didn't say it wasn't legal.
So then
But
what did he do
cannot
that was illegal?
assault
It's illegal
federal
to
law enforcement
document.
when he does that. That's an active law enforcement crime
Where do you
scene
see in the video that he was
decided to enter into?
Where do you see in the video that he was assaulting law enforcement? Because from everything we have seen, law enforcement was assaulting him when he was there trying to help another individual.
Dana, law enforcement doesn't assault anyone. Follow directions of law enforcement. Follow directions of law enforcement in an active crime scene. It's very evident he didn't want to do that. Very evident that the other individuals didn't want to do that. And, it's too bad the consequences had to be paid because he injected himself into that crime scene. I can't say that enough.
He
made the decision to go there. We didn't make the
decision.
decision to talk to him. We didn't even know that individual was in
I want to go back
existence
to
until he came into that crime
I want to
scene.
go back to video number one, because
Fucking idiot.
you keep saying that he injected himself into the crime scene. He was a guy on a street filming an operation. He was far away. He wasn't on the crime scene. And what I want you to see again is that law enforcement appears by the video we have to be approaching him and the person who is next to him, not the other way around. And so what I want to know is what
to him
evidence
still
do you
alive.
have that he
How did they do
went
it?
after law enforcement?
How do they sleep at night?
Sure. The fact that he was standing in the middle of the road, there was interaction between him, the bystanders, and law enforcement. And again, follow directions of law enforcement. He doesn't need to be in the middle of a crime scene. Dan, I don't think you would want to be in the middle of a crime scene, or you would want civilians in the middle of a crime scene injecting themselves into something that is none of their business at all.
Can you also just answer the question about the gun? Because, again, do you have any evidence that he was brandishing his weapon? Did he ever have his hand on the weapon?
Just say it, man. Say it.
Yeah, again, the
Say the truth.
officers on the ground,
He can't do it.
in
He
that
cannot
meeting,
tell the truth.
we hear gun, gun, gun. So that gun, at some point, became visible to officers.
But could it have been because they had him on the ground and maybe his shirt came up and they saw that it was on him?
That's what they did.
That doesn't mean that he was.
And that is why we have an investigation, Dana.
Fine,
That is what we are investigating. You're not going to know that now, and I'm not going to know that
I think an
now.
investigation is great, but the Homeland Security Secretary said he was brandishing a weapon. Do you have evidence that we haven't seen that he was brandishing a weapon?
He brought a semi-automatic weapon to a riot, assaulted federal officers.
It wasn't a riot, it was a
and
protest.
at some point they saw that weapon.
They turned into a
so
riot.
I do believe the secretary is 100% spot on in what she said.
Seeing
Why
a
would
weapon.
you bring a weapon and assault a federal
how happy
officer if
she
you
is.
did not
She's
have
like, I got
intent
him.
Okay.
to harm
got you, dude.
or delay or
gonna
obstruct that
double
federal
down.
officer with a weapon?
You keep saying that he assaulted a federal officer, but again, we have not seen evidence that that happened. It looked like he was on the defense, and again, he had a gun legally. It sort of feels like we're in the upside down, where we have law enforcement and conservatives who are very pro Second Amendment saying the problem was that he had a gun legally.
No, the problem is, as I said several times now, is he injected himself. He put himself where he did not need to be. He put himself in and
It's a
put
free
law
country. You
enforcement
can walk
officers
down the
in jeopardy
sidewalk,
through
man.
his
You can
actions.
videotape
These were
whatever you
his
want, dude. That's
actions,
why it's
not
America.
law enforcement officers' actions.
Stop you
We had
from
to
doing
react
this.
to an individual that came there for a specific reason. And again, what that reason is, we're going to find more out about that in the coming days. I'll be interested to see what his reason for being there, while Border Patrol agents were arresting a violent, criminal, illegal alien doing their lawful, ethical, and moral duties in Minneapolis. That's the question.
Well, but the question is also, why is an American citizen now dead for the second time who was there to document in this case, and
That's why he was there.
clearly
Stop you guys from fucking
be there as a
murdering whoever you
bystander,
want.
which is
It's
his
not
First
clear.
Amendment right.
He wasn't there to clearly document anything. Don't socially engineer the topic, Dana. He was not
You're doing
there
it.
to document.
Appeared
he
to
came
be.
there for
That's
a reason.
fair. Appeared
and
to
he
be.
obfuscated and delayed officers there on the scene. That's pretty evident to me.
I want to ask you about your agents. You said that this was a highly trained agent who had been serving on Border Patrol for 8 years. What was he trained for? Because these are your Border Patrol agents, and they're now in the interior of the country, in American cities. Was he trained in urban policing?
Yes, all of our Border Patrol agents are trained in all for all types of environments, including urban policing. This particular Border Patrol agent had 8 years with some specific skill sets there with both firearms and less lethal munitions. Also, let's take a look at the training and the environments that Border Patrol agents operate in. We operate in places like San Diego, California, Tucson, Arizona, New Orleans. All those have Border Patrol sectors. Detroit, Michigan. We've got Border Patrol sectors in Buffalo. So this myth, and I saw this just last night on CNN, this myth that Border Patrol agents don't work in urban areas is just that. It's a myth. We're well adept at urban areas, conducting that Title VIII immigration enforcement wherever we go. It doesn't matter if it's a desert or an urban environment. We're very well adept at doing that.
Is the agent or agents, is it your understanding that more than one agent fired a weapon at Alex Preddy?
Again, that's going to be part of the investigation. I'm not going to speculate on how many shots or who shot or that type of thing because I don't know.
Are the agents who were involved still on the job?
Yes.
Oh my God.
These Border Patrol agents are going to more than likely be on administrative duty, but they will remain Border Patrol agents. Yes.
What does that mean? So they'll be off the streets for a bit?
Not in Minneapolis, they will, but only in Minneapolis here. They'll be at a different location.
Okay. And before I let you go, I just want to button up one point that you were making about what Alex Preddy was doing there. Do you accept that it is the law that an individual has a right to film what law enforcement is doing?
I believe that all citizens of the United States have those First and Fourth Amendment rights as long as they do so peacefully and don't delay, obstruct, or assault anyone in doing that. And that's the issue here because he was not peacefully doing anything.
All right. And just for the record, and we've seen this video multiple times from multiple angles, there is no evidence that he was doing anything other than being peaceful until the altercation began. Again, I look forward to seeing the other evidence in the investigation that you have because we do want to get to the bottom of this and do want to get all of the facts as they actually happened. Chief Favino, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate you being here and answering questions.
Thank you, Dana.
Watch what salt does to blood pressure.
See this branch of art.
This is what I've been frustrated with. All these law enforcement motherfuckers think they're special. And they got special rights. They've harassed me my whole life. And what they don't, they're going to get a taste of their own damn medicine. It's going to be awesome. It's like everybody who ever's interacted with the police knows they get screwed over somehow by them. They screw people every day. They violate rights every day. They have buddies they let go. They do crimes themselves. But we can never catch them. Their cameras are always off. Or it was always, it was never their fucking fault ever. They always get off. I got in trouble at work for fucking trying to save everyone's life. These motherfuckers are out there beating the shit out of people, shooting them, and people are looking up to them or something like we're supposed to. There's a reason why everybody hates cops. It's because they suck. It's because they're fucking bullies that fucking got picked on. Everybody knows it when they were younger because they're dumb or they're just fucking don't know any better, so they end up going to become a cop. They probably never had a girlfriend before. I'm like, well, that's the only way I can do it or something. I don't fucking know. What would drive somebody to want to fucking be in charge of other people? It's gross. People need help. Go talk to a therapist. Quit locking up people in cages. Quit shooting them. Fuck you guys.